Today, we're diving into a fascinating story out of Gurdaspur, India. We're going to look at what seems, on the surface, to be just another local college. But, as you're about to see, it's actually the front door to this huge educational network with a pretty wild global vision. So it all kicks off with this is a pretty bold claim, right? Pulled straight from their website, certificates certified by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay, that immediately grabs your attention. It makes you lean in and ask, what exactly is going on here?
All right, to unpack that big claim, we've got to start at ground zero. We need to look at this single college in the Gurdaspur region of India. Let's start with the local piece of the puzzle.
So here it is, the Regional College Gurdaspur. On paper, it's a pioneering private school for its area. Been around for a while. Founded way back in 1999 by Dr. Jawaharlal Raina. At first glance, it really does look like your standard, well-established local college.
And when you look at the courses they offer, that idea kind of gets reinforced. You see a lot of practical, skill-based training. Stuff like naturopathy, paramedical sciences, even really specific diplomas in things like Operation Theater Technology. It's all very hands-on, very job-focused. Okay, but here's where the story starts to get a little more interesting. The college website specifically says it's promoted and managed by another group. So, who's really running the show behind the scenes? And that question, well, that's the key to this whole thing. Because behind this one local college, you find the real heavyweight, this massive network called RAAPTI. And that organization is RAAPTI, the Regional Academic and Professional Training Institute. They've also been around since 1999, same as the college, focused on skill development. But what's absolutely staggering is the scale they're operating on.
Get ready for this. We're not talking about just one college. RAAPTI has a network of 379 affiliated colleges. Seriously, that is not a typo.
But it doesn't even stop there. On top of the colleges, they have over 3,200 authorized study centers, and these are spread all across India and even into Nepal. And then, to top it all off, they work with over 11,000 educational consultants. So let's be clear, this isn't just a college anymore. This is a full-blown educational ecosystem. You don't build an operation that huge by accident. It has to be driven by a vision, and their vision is, to put it mildly, incredibly bold. I mean, you have to appreciate the sheer confidence here. This is a direct quote from their website, exclamation points and all. They're not just saying they want to be world leaders, they are flat out declaring it. Yes, world leaders.
And this really gets to the core of how they operate. It's this wild contrast, right? They've got these deep local roots as a trailblazing college in Gurdaspur, but at the very same time, they're building these bridges for their students to get international diplomas from places in the UK and Canada. And it's more than just the one organization. RAAPTI is like the sun in a solar system. They manage all these other bodies, councils, boards, even things they call open universities, that cover everything from medicine to skill development across all of South Asia.
So, the big question is, why? What's the motivation behind this massive, ambitious network? To get that, we actually have to go all the way back to the founder himself.
The founder, Jawaharlal Raina, he frames the whole origin of RAAPTI in this really personal story. He talks about his community being uprooted, losing everything, and how the two things they clung to were their faith and their education. That experience, he says, that fierce resolve, that was the spark that created RAAPTI. And that very personal founding story, you can see it woven directly into the core mission of the organization today. And this is their promise right here. The whole mission is built around helping people who've been, in their words, left out of the traditional systems. So they see their work as more than just education, it's social empowerment. It's about giving people who are overlooked a real chance to shine. And they've got a really clear four-step plan to make that promise a reality. First, you recognize the potential in people. Then you train them up with practical skills. Third, you make it official. You certify those skills. And finally, the most important part, you help them get employed. So when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, from this tiny college in Gurdaspur to a global network with this grand mission to empower the marginalized, it leaves you with a really fascinating question. Is this just an education provider, a business, or is it positioning itself as something more? Something like a social movement? That's definitely something to think about.